guys good?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, cool. All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome on back to the Cinema Lords podcast. This is going to be part 3 of our Surviving Barstool, whatever you want to call it, a little run here that we've been doing. Last one before we decided we're going to be doing a live reaction show next Thursday night. So that'll definitely be fun too. So 2 more talks, 3 more episodes to go. We're going to be talking 10 through 12 today. Got the same crew back, John and Warren. Steve, you'll have the tape. Mick, what's going on, boys? How we doing?
What's happening, cinema? Glad to be back. And like we just said before, plenty to talk about. I got tons of notes and arguably the most intense episodes of television that I've ever watched in my life happened since we've been back. So excited to talk about it.
Very stressful.
That was a big week right there.
Sure was.
Much to discuss.
Yeah.
Let's kick right into it. Fucking episode 10. We find out the pink wedding, which right away, this was, as soon as I heard the concept, I was like, this is great. I was like, this is something that, like, as a Survivor fan, haven't really seen something exactly like this. Seen things similar, but nothing like exactly like this, where you're just locking everybody basically in whatever you want to call it, a gym or, you know, one big ass room for 5 or 6 hours. There's no leaving. You have to talk out in the open. It's 3 challenges, 3 eliminations, just like it's going to be chaos as the second Jeff announces those rules. I thought it was great.
Just the second as soon as you heard the name Pink Wedding, obviously for any Game of Thrones fans, like immediately you're like, okay, something's going down here, and obviously it delivered.
I was surprised they did as many, because it was technically 3 people got eliminated over the course of 3 different episodes. Is that how it ended up being?
Yeah,
I think that's
2 different episodes, right?
Over 2.
Or 2 over 2. Yes,
yeah. Kirk and Will went in the same episode.
That's right. Yeah, I was surprised to see multiple. I know it has to do with the scheduling and stuff, but I didn't know. I know. Do they typically do that in Survivor? Do they do multiple vote offs in one episode? Is that frequent?
It just kind of depends on, I feel like, how the season's going. Sometimes if it's early on, yes. It kind of depends. Not like every single season, but it's happened before.
Yep.
Yeah, we actually talked last week about, like, we had a lot of numbers, but not a lot of episodes left. So we knew they had to, at some point, do some sort of double or triple elimination. So it was definitely an interesting concept. And yes, and I was thinking back, like, I don't think I've ever seen anything like that on Survivor before. I wish we could ask Jeff kind of the genesis of this whole idea, because I wonder if this was a idea they had. Maybe it was that Survivor council guy that has been helping them out. But it was a pretty unique idea. Yeah, it could be a Tommy idea for sure.
Yeah, no, because it was, like I said, as soon as they heard, I was like, oh, man, it's like one of those moments where you're like, oh, shit, man, business is about to pick up kind of thing. John, you got anything else?
Yeah, I couldn't believe that they were just all out in the open, having to have those conversations. And one of the things, you guys kind of just said it, but I was going to ask if there was any comparison at all in regular Survivor where people are kind of locked in a closed space and didn't have privacy to have these conversations.
Not like that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen anything like that. It's funny because, you know, I'm sure we'll talk about it later, but during these votes, like, they're actively talking about, like, you know, Taylor gets up to vote and everybody else, Dave on his end, is like, hey, like, we're going to swing the vote. They change the vote. Like a real Survivor, like, you never really see that sort of thing happen. It's a much more verbal game than Survivor.
Right. And you saw, you saw like when Kirk showed Rhea the idol there in the episode. I forget what point that was, but you could just see her. Kirk didn't even have to tell what she was saying, but you could just see her run immediately up to Big Cat and Portnoy. It's like, oh, okay, so you're just gonna stab me right in the back, right after I just told you, hey, do you trust me? Like, you didn't have to know what that conversation said. The fact that she just went right up there, you knew what was happening. So yeah, it's crazy. They're all in one little vicinity, one little gym area, and just stabbing each other right in the back, having no problem with it. It's phenomenal to watch. It really is.
That moment when Kirk showed Rhea the idol was the first moment I go, oh no, we might have to watch this game without Kirk. Because that was the first thread of, like, oh no, we might lose him tonight, which I think it was the next episode we lost him. But that was the first moment where it was like, oh no, I feel like he went from, you know, plus 400 Mick had him last week to the odds were dropping immediately.
Yeah.
I know, things change so fast. It's unbelievable. And every person who thinks they're not going to play it whips it out. It's unbelievable. They just I mean, I just think there's so much backstabbing that, as confident as you are, and as, you know, you think you have a team with you, as soon as they sit down in that spot, I think the paranoia gets to you.
Mm-hmm.
I was like right away, almost as soon as it started, which after the first challenge, that opening 10 to 15 minutes, that first one I thought was probably the best that this show has been, in my opinion. Like that was just so much anarchy. And like right away, when you see Dave and Rico have a little conversation and you see like Kirk just like storm right over and just be like, what is this about?
Right.
I can see exactly what you guys are doing right now.
Right.
I thought that was fucking wild. And just like the bouncing back and forth, it's like at one point it's like, all right, we're still gonna go Taylor. Then it's like, all right, no, we're gonna try to make a move here. Now we're gonna go to Keegs. Now we're gonna go to, it's just like, and I think he said 10 to 15 minutes. It's just like we saw the vast bulk of that. I feel like we saw probably 7 or 8 minutes.
No, that was that felt like, I don't know if you remember True Detective when that like 7-minute scene of just chaos. That's kind of what it felt like there. That's really it, because it was just back and forth. There was no cuts whatsoever. There was no like confessionals or anything. It was just one conversation to another. Who's snaking who over? Like it really was. It was great.
There was an interesting moment right around there where I think Taylor said it. He turns to his teammates, which obviously they weren't really teammates at that point anymore. But he turned to him and says, if we don't make it out after this, like they just absolutely like crush us. Like, because I Taylor kind of foreshadowed that they need to get somebody else on that other team. And all of a sudden Taylor goes, Kirk goes, Will goes, and the team was no more very quickly.
And I think they showed it after the fact, but I can't believe Taylor, like Dave told Taylor what was going on, like to his face. He was like, he's voting for you. He's voting for you. She's voting for you. Yeah. And Taylor still, I don't think really believed him until it happened.
Probably not. Yeah. It's probably a good call.
But I mean, this was surprised at all that Dave immediately kind of snuffed out Rico when he said, we need to get Dan on board. Like it barely even came out of his mouth, and Dave was all over him on it.
This is my question here. This is a general question too. It's not even just for that. Does Rico know what he's doing? That's what I need to know.
No.
Does he have any idea what he's doing, or is he just okay getting bullied around? Because I think there's a chance. Because now he seems a little smarter towards the end, and we know what happened. You know, he got the idol and all that, but it's impossible to see him get screamed at over and over again and just be like, okay. Like he has to be playing a little bit of a game and kind of, I don't, unless he's just, a dog. He literally is a dog potentially, but I don't know.
I think he felt like he had no life in the game. And like we literally saw, like it's like a video game, like his life meter was like this. And he handed over that idol to Dave. But then it seemed like he started to get some energy back in the last episode where Dan's like, hey, here's a key. Go check this out. Go find another key. Like, so I feel like he's very emotional. He just rides those waves, but I feel like he was down and out at that point.
I guess hard not to get a fucking instant boost when you got somebody just handing you fucking key after key after key.
Yeah. But like
when Rico, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mick.
I was just gonna say with his plans, that's more what I'm asking. With either of the plans, with Kirk's plan or with Portnoy's plan, did he even know either of them? Or was he just like, I think he just was being told multiple times, like, oh, do this. And he was like, well, that's where I think his confusion was. I don't think at any point he knew what he was doing up until like the minute of like, I think there was some panic there. There actually was some panic there.
I think he had one plan, and it's to stay loyal to Dave. And that's been his only plan, really. I don't think he was ever loyal to Kirk. I think it
was Kirk until the merger.
Right.
But, the merge.
But I think in reality, once your loyalties only go so far. Like, if he's using Kirk at that point, he's not loyal to him. He's just using him to get to Dave.
Does he know in the moment though? That I guess that's what I'm asking you. Like, because he walked up to Portnoy and Big Cat and he said that, and Dave was like, "Get away from me!" Like, at that point, Dave thought he was getting screwed over. And I think Rico thought he was helping him.
Yeah, he was trying to be a soldier.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
but he just didn't know what to do.
Confused. Yeah.
It's like when a cat brings like a dead squirrel to your front door, and it's like a gift, and you're like, "Why did you bring me a dead squirrel?" And the cat's like, "Well, I'm here for you," and it's like, "No, you're an idiot. Like, why'd you do that?"
It's actually pretty spot on.
Yeah, that sounded really good when I said it in my head.
I think this was a good example, this pink wedding, of showing why Dave Portnoy is Dave Portnoy too. I mean, this man played everybody perfectly. Like he didn't even try that hard either. It seemed like he just kind of kept sprinkling in little tidbits here and there, just showing why he's the head of a fucking billion-dollar company.
Diabolical Dave. And every single time he pulled one of these moves, the camera pans to him and he's got that fucking smirk on his face too. You all know which one I'm talking about. I'm at the point where I think, as far as like playing the conniving game well, I think I've switched from Rhea to Dave now. I think is playing the game the best. And sure, there's you can argue that him being the boss, and maybe we'll get into that later, like has that kind of started to rear its ugly head as far as people being afraid of him and all that stuff. But without all that, he's starting to play a damn fucking good game right now.
Yeah, if you knew nothing about the company's dynamic, like at all, you would say Dave's the best player in the history of Survivor. You'd be like, oh, these people are bowing down to him. How is this happening? Then you start realizing his influence and stuff like that. And, and then you go back to the movie stuff where he's like, we're not getting her voted off. Like, people are just probably, if you're playing this game as a legit, just as a person who works there, like, how I don't even know how I would vote. You'd be so scared. You really would be.
Dave is a master manipulator. And what's amazing is he has not lied once in this game.
Yeah. That's what's so great about seeing him and Kirk interact, is that they're both so like straight and forward and honest. It's just like, how can you not respect it? They just like, there's no bullshitting, there's no like even politicking. It's awesome. It's awesome to see them interact.
And what sucks for Kirk though is clearly Dave was out for Kirk though. It's like, so if it didn't happen in that episode or that day, it was like Dave was just like hot to trot on getting Kirk out.
Yeah. I think Kirk wanted to get Dave too, though. They might not have showed it so much because there might have been other targets before he had really put his eyes on Dave. But I think Kirk knew that if someone was going to, especially this late in the game, if someone was going to try to kill Dave, it would have had to been him to lead that charge.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but I think Dave had it out for Kirk from the very beginning. I think he would get off on the fact of getting Kirk out. I think he likes that. I think he likes the reaction of it. And I think from the beginning, everybody wanted to get Dave out. Whitney said it. Kirk said it. Jerry said it. Everybody wants to get the boss out. So for the boss to be like, yeah, I want Kirk out. He even said, he was like, Kirk's the only one left in that team with a brain. So I think that was really his target. I mean, it was tough seeing. I'm not gonna lie. I was extremely. As I think I said before, the Malcolm Butler interception was the highest I've ever been, other than when I've seen Kirk Minahan get that idol. Seeing him lose and getting voted off, I was like legitimately depressed. I probably said some, nasty things on Twitter. It wasn't great. It wasn't a good sight over here.
Dave is, he's a lot of things, but he's not dumb. He's a very smart guy.
Oh, for sure.
So I think he can look at that other side and see, okay, I can manipulate Will. I can manipulate Taylor. I don't think he had any control on Kirk at all. So he knew that he had to get Kirk out. But when you surround yourself with people like Mooby and Rico,
right,
and I guess Minty, like these guys, like he's used to like kind of pushing these guys around. And I think Kirk was the one guy he couldn't push around, so he had to get rid of him as soon as possible.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that sounds about right. Especially when it seemed like Kirk was kind of the shot caller for the other side. I think that's how it appeared. I think that's kind of how it was too. But I think that was somewhat evident if you were watching, especially from the other side. I'm sure.
Definitely.
The only other thing I wanted to really mention from this episode was a great cliffhanger, but we also saw the beginning of Kirk really starting to be Kirk here. This was Kirk started getting his bag too. But I tried to talk about it when I was in studio yesterday, and I don't think I laid it out that great. But the hypothetical that I was laying down was basically after, like, you're going into that first vote, and like say right beforehand, Kirk is well aware, it seems like, that the target is on him. So at that point, if you are able to talk to just the CTE 3, and all four of you vote for Mooby, let's say Rico, Kelly, and Megan making money all stick to the original plan, and they vote Taylor. That's 3 votes to your 4. And if the whole of the alliance, all go 4 votes on Kirk, it's going to be a tie. But Kirk can play his idol, bing, bang, boom. So at that point, Kirk's safe no matter what. And you're just playing if Mooby's going to play a key thing and she happens to get it, then, oh, well, Taylor's gone. But if not, you cut out a leg from Portnoy and you still have Luan in the game. Now you probably worked up a little bit of good faith with him. That was like what I was trying to lay out, but I was obviously, like I said, I don't know how well I did of it, but
I think he would probably just rather die with the idol than any close vote. I know what you mean. Like the numbers might have been there in his favor, but at the end of the day, it is surviving and anything can happen. And until you get to that voting booth, you don't know what's going to happen. I think it's been proven here in the season. So I think Kirk Minahan would rather die than die with that idol in his hand in the show.
I was happy that he didn't, because that's the worst. Whenever you see somebody fucking get bounced with an idol, it's just the worst.
That was the right move for him to play that for sure. But I think Kirk kind of said it with you yesterday, Cinema. I think everything happens so fast.
Yeah.
That I don't think they have time to really figure out an ideal plan and then execute plan. Like that's the thing that Dave and Rhea and those guys have been solid from the get-go. Like they have a plan early and they stick to it and then they execute it. Where I feel like Kirk's team, they're a great team in terms of competing in challenges. But like when it came to strategic plays, like getting out the right people, like we saw when they got rid of Minty, like they just kept I feel like they kind of just sloshed their way through it and like got rid of people when they needed to. And I think Lewan was just like an easy vote when they should have used those numbers to their advantage.
Mm-hmm.
I think Will basically said that, was that last week? Maybe he was saying that we can still make this a team game because we have 7 of us and it's only 4 of them. Like if we just stick together, then we're good. Like it could be us 7 in the final, which obviously Kirk mentioned yesterday. He said that his plan was to go with Clemmer and Will to the final. And maybe that was even this morning. I can't even remember. But he said like that was his like plan to be in his final 3. So I was a little bit surprised to actually not see a little bit more of Kirk and Will strategizing in between that first challenge. I'm especially after the game that Will played in that first season, because like Will was very much strategizing last season. Like he was in the mix, and this season, I don't know. It didn't seem like his heart was totally in it like it was last year.
Yeah, it could have been the edit.
Right.
Because it does seem like him and Kirk did have a good relationship throughout and obviously after. So maybe there was stuff we didn't see.
Oh, yeah.
I think maybe he also knew that there, now we know this now, that there probably was no chance of him winning. There was absolutely no chance they're going to let him win. So I think it's tough to get super, super into it after that's happened. You probably, I think the more we know now kind of going forward, it seems maybe Caleb's game made a little more sense. Maybe Will not being super into it compared to last year. I think it's kind of all kind of coming out to play here.
I think the other X factor is just Rico. Like, I think Kirk thought he had Rico the whole time, and in reality, Rico was always on Dave's side. So once you saw Rico shift, once you saw Keegs go with Rhea, Megan go with Big Cat, it was like, I think Kirk said it today, like he didn't have the numbers at the end of the day.
Right.
It was a little loosey-goosey there, but
I can't believe how fast that fell apart.
Quick.
Yeah.
I said it on here. I think it was the second time we did a show, and then I said it to Kirk, not yesterday, but the last time I was in. And both you guys, we were talking about who we think has been playing good and who we like going forward. And both times I mentioned Rico, and now in hindsight, it's like, fuck. I would like to stricken all of that from the record. I take back all the positive things I said.
Well, it's funny.
It was tough.
It's funny because obviously the way the first episode ends, we're like, what an idiot. Like Rico is retarded for doing that.
What
and
by
the end of and then you end the third episode and you're like, is Rico like potentially going to win this game? Just because I don't know out of sympathy or what, it feels like it, but I feel like he has a way better chance at the end of that third episode than he did at the end of the first episode this week.
Right.
I agree with that.
Do you guys feel bad for him at all? Like, do you guys, other than obviously the Kirk drama, I guess as a neutral viewer, are you watching this and you're like, wow, this guy's getting screamed at by everybody. Maybe be funny for him to win. It might be good for him to win. But then you remember he gave the idol to Dave, and it's like, could we ever vote for that guy? Like, I don't know if I could ever vote for somebody who gives the idol to the boss. Like, that would just.
Yeah, I feel bad for him in the sense of he looks like a beaten dog, but not as much where I would go, oh, because of that, do I want him to win out of like a charity case? No, not really.
Mm-hmm.
I think Mick brings up a good point though, because you know that people are watching this that aren't in any way like Barstool fans or KMS fan. Like this shit gets picked up. It's got a lot of views. So I do wonder, like the random person who doesn't know anything about any of these people, like how they view whoever it may be, Rico or Kirk or
right.
I would like to talk to somebody like that. I'd like to get a fucking interview with one of them.
Right. If you have no idea about Rico's history of throwing high noon cans and on the Picking podcast and all that, and like you're just sitting there like, wow, this guy just looks beaten down. Like, and all the people at the company are screaming at him, and you're like, they kind of make him out to be the sympathy character. And with Big Cat giving him 2 idols at the end of the episode, that was ridiculous.
That was so
believe
pathetic.
That. I know.
Just the textbook definition of fucking pathetic is a big picture of Dan Katz's fucking face from Noon. Unbelievable. I think that was pretty much all I had from that first episode. Like I said, great cliffhanger. I mean, unbelievable fucking cliffhanger.
Mm-hmm.
The next one, we get the double elimination. Unfortunately, we get Kirk's removal after the memory game. But I did think it was very funny, Kirk being super encouraging to everybody after he got like knocked out of the memory game. I think he was the first one out. I'm pretty sure. Either the first or second, but either way, it was very funny when Dave like got up the card after that. He was like, Dave, you got longer than me. Good job, man.
Yeah. I think Kirk, Kirk's an underrated good teammate. You know, he'll snap.
Absolutely.
People, he'll scream at people, but he wants his guys to win. And I think if he loses a challenge and somebody else does well at it, he's quick to be like, wow, that was, good for you. Like that was really well. It's more just the controversial losses with the Lithuanians during the basketball stuff. That's when we see the nasty.
Hey, we might have lost every game, but that was a team of good teammates. Everybody was a good teammate.
We were there for each other at the point.
That's right. That's right. You follow coach. All right. So this one was just obviously the chaos of the first vote. I mean, you have Megan making money and Dan just fucking ruining everything. Just being complete and utter fucking cowards, just ruining the whole fucking thing for everybody. At least for all of us.
Yeah, and I mean Megan voting Rico, and then it turns out, what did he had an idol, right? Or he got one with
no justice.
Got
Whitney key.
Oh, it's just the fact, like, she shouldn't have done it to begin with, but she did, and then it still didn't fucking do anything. Not that it would have anyway. It just made it worse.
It's tough with the edits. Did she know what she was doing to get Kirk out? Or is she playing stupid?
No.
Like I need
No,
to,
she was being a pussy. She was like, she's like, oh, I don't want to vote for Kirk because he'll be mad at me, and then I don't want to vote for Big Cat because we have relate. That's how I viewed it. So it was a cop out.
Big Cat. Kirk asked her to vote for Keegs.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Or Rico. It was one of the two. It wasn't Big Cat.
Well, yeah, it was so disorganized in that moment because when things were going crazy, at first they were like, vote for Rico.
Right.
And then 30 seconds later, it's like, no, vote for Keegs. So they were desperate at that point.
I think Megan voted because she thought that'd be the safe way out, was to vote out Rico, but I don't think she realized the consequences by not putting the right name down, because voting for somebody like Rico in that situation is, you might as well not vote at all. You might as well have lost your vote.
Yes.
And I don't think she realized that in the moment. She thought she was just going to be safe by just picking some random name or whoever maybe deserved it, because Rico probably did deserve it.
Right.
But it ends up screwing, other people.
And if you're Kirk at that time, like you think you have the numbers, or you think you have the number with her. And if she was just honest saying, no, I'm not going to vote for that, Kirk could potentially go negotiate with somebody else during those times. He could make a deal with Will. He could make a deal with somebody else during that. It's just her lying in that moment, or I guess just panicking, whatever you want to call it, potentially cost him a chance to be in the game. I think it really did. Right.
That's why he was called. Like, that's why him calling her an idiot or whatever other name, and her trying to defend herself, like, I'm not an idiot, but. What she doesn't realize, like, outside of the stuff he said,
fucking funny.
She doesn't understand the implications. That's why she's an idiot. Like, you're not just calling her names to call her names because you're mad. Like, he actually had a point. Like, you're not considering the implications. But yeah, cinema, that was high comedy, like absolute fucking high comedy.
So fucking that like got me like slapping my knee right there. That was fucking great. But it's just like, it's crazy to me that like Megan making money is like, so right now, right? I think there's a huge drop off from like Rhea and Dan, and everyone's giving Mubi shit because she's right at the bottom too. And I completely agree with that. But she's got, like, hypothetically, if she had to make a case, her case would be 100 times better than Megan making sandwiches. I don't know how, like, this girl hasn't done anything. She hasn't made a move. She barely talks to anybody. Like, I don't have any idea how this girl thinks she's going to win this game, get to the final three. Like, I just don't get it. Somebody, like, this is why I was so, like, not aggravated, but I was mind blown when Biz got voted out, because I was like, what are you guys realistically planning to do? Are you guys going to go to the final five before you decide to start turning on each other? Like, at some point, somebody's going to have to make a move. Like, you can't go to a final five. Like, someone has to go. And Biz, I felt like, was a perfect vote to be able to swing to make a move, especially when you have Megan. You get Megan, you get Biz, and boom, just like that, you can make a big move.
Well, they were worried about him in the challenges, I think.
From what we've learned too, like, Mubi is with Dave, Megan's with Big Cat, or at least was with Big Cat. So going into that, Big Cat and Dave just kind of have to survive until they get the numbers. You got to survive until you get to that final like 8-12 people, and then you have the numbers already, because Big Cat's gonna have Megan, and if him and Dave are together, then they have 4 votes right then and there. Like, my whole point with that is they have to get rid of Dave or Big Cat earlier, and Kirk was right about that. He made that so clear when they got rid of Mincy. That was a mistake. If they got rid of Dave there, that alliance blows up and everybody else is scrambling, and now they're not in this position anymore. Megan might have Big Cat, but there is no Team Portnoy, there is no Pizza 4, whatever the hell they're calling themselves. Like, that is really where, looking back, that's the biggest mistake. If they got rid of Dave or Big Cat during that, none of this would be happening right now.
It's interesting because last year Dave got voted off early. Big Cat got voted off first. And then this year it feels like no one's making power plays like that. But yeah. I just wonder, like, why? I feel like, now that we're
totally agree.
The third episode this week, I think there's a lot of questions about how this game is actually played and how it's run and organized and set up that we'll probably get into later. But like the whole dynamic is a total 180 from last year.
Well, it's really the first big fish to actually go this late in the game.
With the dynamic, like that was the first thing I had on my notes. I'll read it here. It said, "Is this game fair, influenced, or rigged?" Because I don't know. I legitimately, and I'm not accusing anybody of anything. It's TV. I understand that it's entertainment, so there's going to be some factors that might be a little more scripted than others. But like Kirk said it best on the show today, the idol was sitting there the entire time, and me as a viewer was like, "Oh my god!" One of the producers just went up and put that right there, and Kirk kind of confirmed. He's like, "No, that idol was sitting there the entire time, and I just missed it." Like it almost just the way they've edited it, it almost feels rigged. And I know it's probably not, but the way that Dan and Portnoy are sitting on top, just manipulating the game, like it's like how can you not think it's not rigged? It's crazy.
It's funny because the great Bio Dude said it well today. Bio Dude said, "I don't know if this game is rigged, but it feels rigged."
Right.
And I think if the viewer thinks it feels rigged, then you got problems. You got issues. Like I don't know. Like I don't know if people are seriously sitting at home questioning this. Like, obviously, we're all rooting for Kirk, and we think it sucks that Kirk got voted out. I wonder if the average viewer is like, this does seem very fishy, but do we only think it's fishy because we know all the behind-the-scenes dynamics with the, the full stories with these contracts and how Dave picked these teams? And, we're watching Unnamed where Dave and Witt and Kirk are talking about these things. But yeah, Baudu just said, well, it feels rigged. It's not a good thing for the consumer of the show to feel that way.
Right.
Well, the average viewer might not have realized that until they actually said it. Like they just came out and said these contract negotiations. That's the one thing that I really disliked about it. I almost felt like a shift in the show after they said that.
Yes.
Deflating totally is how I would put it. Like I'm a far fan of pro wrestling. You know what I mean? From a distance, I've always enjoyed WWE. Yeah.
Okay.
The number one rule is you don't break character. Like you never break character, even if the entire audience. You can't do it. It's kayfabe, right? You have to do like that's what I meant. Like Big Cat telling us that, basically saying, "Yeah, we don't want those guys to win on Barstool Networks on their way out." I was like, "Fuck off! Why am I even watching the show? Why do I care about this so much? What the hell?"
Yeah, I do have a working theory. I think we'll touch on it later if that comes back to this. But I think there's more to all this than I think we see on the show.
Interesting.
But I don't know. I'll throw a theory out to you guys in a little bit. But
all right.
Well, let me ask you guys something. If you're Jeff Lowe, and by the way, again, shout out Jeff Lowe. Despite what we're complaining about, it's a great fucking product.
He's done unbelievable.
Thoroughly enjoying it.
Oh yeah.
But
I love everything.
You're Jeff. Are you annoyed at two things? One, those guys talking about the contract negotiations having effect, and two, Big Cat basically giving up. Like you land, I understand Big Cat's been in it before, but still, you land Big Cat for this season. That's a huge get, and then when the going gets tough, he bails. Like I don't know, as a creator of the show, are you like, oh great, one of the stars like isn't in it anymore?
Yes and no, I think, because I think you obviously want Big Cat to play till the end. It's great. You want everybody to be into the game. I think Kirk said it a bunch of times on KMS. The people he likes are the people that are actually into the game, not just sitting on a bed for 6 hours doing nothing. But at the same time, the controversy, if you're Jeff and you're kind of the host of this show, you're the one pitching it, it's unbelievable entertainment. The entire internet's talking about it. You go in to tell them, hey, we do season 4 or whatever. Like they have to do season 4 now, even if it's a dud or even whatever. Like they're going to run it back. They have to. It's something. Of course. It would be must watch for me.
I think every season right now at this point is going to be much watch going forward.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's just utter chaos. It's great television. It's great reality television.
Yeah. I think Jeff, though, would probably be a little frustrated with people kind of blowing challenges or not caring as much towards the end, or Big Cat kind of bowing out. Like I could see him being like, what the fuck? Like, we put all this effort into the game. You're one of the biggest people. And now all of a sudden you're just going to bow out. Like,
right.
Yeah.
So they just did that combine like a couple of months ago. I think it was in 24, and KFC kind of like just kind of quit basically like halfway through the combine.
That's right.
And Portnoy like rang him out for it. Like he gave him a bunch of shit for it. I think he said that's one of the reasons why KFC wasn't invited to do this season. I'm pretty sure. And you think about how big of a product that probably was, and how much bigger Surviving Barstool is. And you have a guy who's even bigger than KFC is, like the number 2 at the company, and he's doing the same thing that you rang out that guy for. So I would like to see what happens in the fallout, because obviously I don't think Dave's going to do anything that would potentially spoil anything. And if he does ring out Dan, gives away shit. So I'm very curious to see what's going to happen immediately following this season.
Obviously it's hindsight, but I think Dave did a poor job actually putting the roster together for this season. And I think now that we've seen a bunch of episodes, it does feel very staged toward Dave. Like Movie has no business being on the show. She has zero business being on the show. And there's so like in Caleb, like all that stuff should have been vetted out. Like Dave was going for the biggest numbers, the biggest hits, the biggest platforms, and put them on there. But if that's the case, like you said, Cinema, like KFC should be on that show. He's also the guy who used to host the show.
Yeah.
Like, why is he not on that show? But then Dan just goes and quits. Like he also like subliminally quits. Like he tells Rhea like that he can't expose it, but he's gonna,
dude, that is crazy. So, and good for Rhea for fucking exposing him too.
Good for her.
Yeah,
absolutely. Like she pissed on his grave right there, and I was all for it. But I don't know. I just feel like Dave can't be putting the cast together, or he can't be playing one or both.
Well, obviously, I think you have to have him playing. So, who are you gonna? You're gonna have to put somebody in charge of putting the cast together. Like you said, this was obviously Dave was very much trying to get the biggest personalities he could possibly get on this show. Right. And then once you got down to the last, whatever it is, 3 or 4 people, then he starts, sprinkling in other people to grab, whether it's Mincy or Robbie Fox, people like that. But I don't know how you do this show without Dave in it. Like
you got to have Dave.
He's so entertaining. He really is.
Big Cat. And the problem is when Big Cat didn't give the viewer a moment where he gets killed. Like it wasn't like a building up moment. He gets backstabbed like Francis did at the View. He didn't look stupid. He looked sad. And he kind of played that whole thing where, Rhea, let's have a fake scene and do all of that. Like as a viewer, I got really frustrated because I was like, if this was any other person, Kirk mentioned this on KMS, but if this was any other person in the game, other than maybe Movie, they would have a internet parade making fun of them, saying you're too soft, you couldn't handle it, blah blah blah. And Big Cat just gets away with, he's stressed out and he had a lot on his mind. Like, fuck off. That's what I'm not rooting for anybody's mental health to decline, but during a situation like that, knowing the other side of it, like if Rico bowed out or if Kirk bowed out, it would be, Kirk's crazy, he couldn't handle it this time, or whoever's what. Like Big Cat for just get a pass being like, I got stressed out and I couldn't handle lying to people anymore. Fuck you. Then don't play the game. Like that's how I felt as a viewer.
Yeah, and it was I'm stressed out, and he kept saying, well, I'm not going to win anyway. I'm not going to win anywhere. I'm not going to make it further. But dude, when I'm watching this, the guy found 2 fucking keys.
I know.
Like you could parlay that into going as far as you want at that point.
It really was. Yeah. It's like, why even play the game? Why are you there?
There was a decent amount of that. Like, I thought Independent Biz, while it was very funny, like it is, like it's you can't lie that it's not funny. But even then, that kind of like to me was like, all right, this is fucking lame, dude. Especially like this late in the game, it's like this is where I want to see the really big plays start happening. And you have this guy who just could not give a fuck less about what's going on.
Dude, when Big Cat was describing what the keys and idols were this late in the game, that was funny though.
Right. It is. No, it definitely is funny.
Yeah, it would have been for Biz. Like you can do the solo strategy, but like when it comes down towards the end, like if you do want to win, I think he was more worried about being lied to and screwed over than being, trying to win the fit to 250K and negotiating with people. Because when Rhea told him, hey, you're pretty much it, he was like, thanks for being honest. And he didn't even try to go negotiate.
I know you could pop out of bed and start fucking networking at that point.
Anything. They didn't show like a big Biz charge. Like he could have ran out in the middle and been like, whoever wants to fucking win, come with me right now. Like he didn't do any of that. Like I was kind of waiting for his last little moment. Like even Gilly had one, if you remember. Gilly was trying to rally people towards the end.
Yep.
The Big Cat thing, like, you said Cinema, like he just didn't care and he was just kind of gave up. I think the thing is Big Cat cared too much and he was playing the game very hard. Like Kirk made a great point. Like you watch him win the first challenge of the Pink Wedding. That man is excited to win. That man wants to play this game. And as soon as he realizes, everyone's going to hate him and be mad at him, maybe outside the game, all of a sudden he's like, he probably still cared, but he's like, I just need to get out of this game and save face. Where in reality, I think maybe the best thing would have been just keep playing incredibly hard. Just go win the game.
Definitely.
If you go play your ass off and you win this game, you're going to get more respect than you putting your tail in between and your legs, and then making Rhea vote you out and make it seem like it's this big real thing when it's all fake. Like, that's the worst thing you could have done.
I do think there is something to us, like having a different viewpoint because we are Survivor fans. Like, say, like a lot of people keep saying, like, there's no way I'm going to win. There's no way the jury's going to vote for me. Rico and Dan both said it. And it's like, guys, there is like 7 people left in this game. Maybe right now in this moment, if we were voting for 7 people, you wouldn't get that many votes. But if you make the right moves, especially with the jury the way it is, they're going to respect whoever plays the best game. So if Dan all of a sudden is the guy who grabs like Megan making money, who's obviously seemingly in his pocket, and whoever it could have been, maybe it could have been Biz before they voted him out. They're like, hey, we got to knock off Dave, or we got to knock off Rhea. That's a huge fucking piece that you can bring to the jury and be like, hey, this was one of the 2 shot calls in this game, and I fucking took him out. I was a part of taking people. Like, it's crazy how many people are viewing this like a popularity contest.
Like, I'm stunned that nobody's came after Rhea specifically this late in the game. You haven't really seen anybody on the other teams being like, let's go after Rhea. Let's go Rhea. And I think everybody, or at least we thought towards the beginning, I remember I said in the episode 1 when we recorded, Rhea riding Dave towards the end is going to get old. I think people were going to catch on, we thought. People seem to have not caught on. And they're like, oh, Rhea's now, as a viewer, people are watching. Rhea's the power play. Rhea's the one kind of dictating everything. And it's like, if you're playing this game, how do you not catch on to that? How do you not realize we got to kill Rhea because then we can kill Dave? Like, if we get rid of Rhea, then Dave has no alliance or you know, whatever. I know he has Mubi hidden, but whatever. Like, it seemed like it was Rhea and Dave. So, like, if you can't get rid of Dave right away, get rid of Rhea. And nobody has came after Rhea at all. And she seems to be the runaway favorite right now, at least in my eyes.
So with that said, Rhea should also be sitting there saying, I need to get Dave out.
Right.
I don't want to look like Dave's pulled me. I want to make the big play and get him out. Cinema, you touched on it, but I think in the real game of Survivor, the biggest thing that those contestants think about is, how is the jury going to view me? So they don't care about, they care about their close alliance to try to get them toward the end. But if they need to ditch their close alliance to make their resume look better and make it more palpable for, I don't know if I said that word right, to vote for them in the jury in the final 3, they'll do it. Where this group, it's like a popularity contest. Everyone's like, I don't want to make this guy mad. Let's just kind of play together and we'll get toward the end. And I think that's a huge difference.
Yeah, I think that's why you also see, like, right, like Dave gets that, Kirk got that, Rhea gets that. Like, the people that got it seem to go the farthest, I feel like, this season, for the most part. Not everybody, but I feel like that awareness is key. Like, it is, especially with the way things worked out as far as the jury. Like, I think it worked out really, really well as far as having guys like Whitney, Luan, Kirk, Will. Clemmer's a huge Survivor fan, so you know he's going to be loyal to the game too. It's not going to be one of these things where people are looking at bank accounts and all that bullshit, which I think is good. That's best for the game. You know what I mean? That's how we're going to get the best winners with that kind of jury. So, like I said, there was still room to maneuver with 7 people left. If you're whoever, Dan or Rico, 2 guys, like I said, who both were like, oh, there's no way I can win. It's like, guys, there's plays to be made. There's room to win over jury votes. Like, if you, just because you fucked over some guy 3 days ago does not mean he's not going to vote for you to win if you played the best game.
I think that's kind of circumstantial because depending on how fucked over you got, like, I don't think there's a scenario where Ryan Whitney's voting for Portnoy. Like, I think he made that pretty much clear. Like, he even said on the way out, like, we're done. Don't expect anything from me. So, and yeah, it's in the same couple of days where, like, at least if I was playing and somebody had just screwed me over, I don't care if it's the boss or anybody else. I am not voting for that person. It doesn't matter if they're rich. It doesn't matter if they're famous. If they screwed me over and they got me out of the game and you know, they actually lied to me, you're never getting my vote, ever.
Mick, that doesn't sound like you at all. What are you talking about? Right? This is the most off-brand thing I've ever heard from you.
Let me ask you this. Let's say if Whitney's voting, right, and Dave gets Mubi and say Megan making money to the finals. You don't think Whitney, who's been not lifelong, but friends with Dave for 10 years. You don't think he's going to vote for Dave? You think he's going to vote for either?
Oh, God, no. He's not voting
exactly. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter that he fucked it over. He's going to be like, all right, fuck. Dave carried these people to the final. He made all the moves. He was sour in that moment. I think fucking everybody is. How, you know, the hour or two after you get voted out, you're fucking pissed off. But after a while, if you are playing hard, you respect the play. You got to respect the game.
What's tough is with how many players left? 7, we said. Like, yeah. So there's still a lot of time to make big moves. Mm-hmm. So even if we're imagining Mubi in the final 3, I don't think she's going to make a big play, but there's still time for her to make a big play or two. And all of a sudden she's in the final 3 and you're like, holy shit, I got to vote for this girl. So there's time. It's just the problem is I think there's too many leeches in this game.
Yeah.
Mubi, Keegs, Megan, Rico, all they're doing is they're just trying to find the host, which is Dave, and ride that host as long as they can and see what happens. But nobody wants to be active and make a big play. That's why I've been waiting for Rhea for weeks now to try to cut Dave's head off, and she hasn't done it.
And let me ask you this, because Dave originally was kind of hesitant to get rid of Mubi because she was young and new at the company, right? Why does it make it any easier to get rid of her late in the game?
I think it's a play. I said that. I think it was last. I think that was a play.
Right now, we have to start thinking that has to be a play, right? Like later on, like I think he might backstab Mubi coming up. I think that's what might be happening. And Dave might find himself in the final 3. I'm not going to tell you the odds yet. We'll get to them, but don't be surprised if Portnoy's in the final 3.
The more I watch, I think that was a play for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Dave should be in fucking Waco. Dave could sit there and be like, "Hey, Mubi, it's been a really good run and it's been so much fun and you're really great and you're doing great stuff on TikTok, but it's just kind of time for you to just go, and that's okay because we're still going to be friends after this." And she'd be like, "Okay, cool."
She'd be great with it.
And she's like, "Can I vote myself out?" We're like, "No, but it's okay. We'll vote you out." Like, that's how it feels.
Steve, you mentioned a good point. Like, if Moob's made like one singular move, she can actually present a decent case to the jury, honestly. Mm-hmm. She can be like, look, I got all the way here to the final 3. I didn't really have to get my hands dirty. I was never really like overly targeted. Like I was able to just kind of scoot right under the radar. I made a big play down the end of the stretch to get me to the final 3. It's not a bad case.
Here's the monkey wrench that could happen right now and so easily. And this is something that I think is thought about on every Survivor season. What if Rhea, Kelly, Megan, and Mubi say, let's go to the final 4. Like, we can take the numbers, we can get the votes.
Right.
We'll do an all female, and then we'll figure out whoever gets immunity, and it's gonna be 3 of the 4 girls in the final 3. Dave should be really scared.
I'd be all over that.
Yeah, Rhea would win, right? We think. I mean, who knows?
Which girls would say no to that? Do you think?
Which one?
Probably Megan at the time when Big Cat was around because she had his alliance, but now
she needs something.
I mean, now it might be Mubi. It might be Mubi saying, no, we're not getting rid of Dave. He's been so loyal to me. And then all of a sudden you got a 2-on-2.
She could. I mean, it's just a 4-on-3 at that point, and they could just run the table. Mm-hmm. But I just don't know if anybody has the guts to do it.
Mm-hmm.
To Mubi's credit, there is something to be said for kind of playing a quiet game.
No credit to Mubi, John. I'm sorry. No.
She's the only person I've left to my Survivor pool, Mick. Give me a break. No, but think about Keegs. Her getting so emotional at that table showed her hand. Like for those guys at the time, like Will and Biz had no idea that Keegs was kind of had a secret relationship going with Rhea.
Yeah.
So if she kind of kept a stone face, they still wouldn't have known really. But she, I don't know, being loud and crying and obnoxious, showed her hand.
And just sat right next to Rhea, sat right next to them. Like she could have played a little smarter. I mean, like, it was crazy because you didn't really know how close that alliance was. And then when you got to the pink wedding, you got to that little meeting, you realized that they were in each other's pockets the entire time. And they showed the cut clip from before where they said Kelly said the biggest alliance I have going into this is Rhea. And I was I didn't know I knew they were working together, but I didn't know they were that close. And during the biggest moments, she's just basically crying, admitting like, I don't know what to do, Rhea. She's panicking at the table and like, tell me what to do. It was a tough scene for Keegs.
Just a leech.
Yeah. I think it was a little surprising to probably everybody as far as KMS fans go to see Kirk and Kelly working so closely. I do think it was like a ticking time bomb thing. Like there's no way that this was going to last the whole game. Mm-hmm. And I think Kelly basically showed that she's the dumb bitch that she is and fucking like on both cases, just being wicked dumb. And then there was that one time where like Kirk was trying to get her to like, basically like, come on, like, let's go get out of this. And she was just like, no, wait, this is fucking stupid. I was just like, all right, like there she is. I was like, there's Kelly Keegs that I cannot fucking stand. But it's like, Kelly, do you have eyes right now? It's like Rhea's keeping things from you. Dave's saying he can't trust you. Dan's clearly working with them and Mubi's working with them. You want to go jump into that and be 5th on the pecking order? You want to get the final 5?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you get ahead of Moobs and you go to final 4. there's no end game for you with those people. Like, that's why if she's working with Kirk and she'd stuck with Kirk, those two could have fucking ran for a while. They grab Will or whatever, Kirk Keegs, something like that. You know what I mean? She had way better odds of sticking with Kirk than she did fucking jumping ship.
Right. And I think the biggest way you can show an alliance in Survivor, from what I've learned in my brief studies again, you can show someone an idol. Like Kirk tried to show Rhea his idol as a sense of like faith. But I think the biggest way you can show somebody, you know, I guess faith in this game is, hey, I have an alliance with somebody. Let's get rid of that somebody. Me and you right now, you come up to somebody who you don't really know and say, hey, I have an alliance with John. Let's get rid of John. Now you're mine. And then you just keep riding that wave. Like I've seen that just in my brief studies where somebody thinks they're aligned with somebody else, and then all of a sudden they flip right at the votes, and it's like, oh, they were actually aligned with them the entire time. And Kelly kind of did that towards the end, but she just panicked with it, and you could see it all over her face, started crying.
I don't want to be that guy, but my God, these women are emotional. It's just like they're all. And then I don't know if everybody else caught it, but as soon as the chaos started happening at the Pink Wedding, Rhea became insufferable.
Yep,
like she became so annoying, and like I've liked Rhea's game for the most part. Then all of a sudden she was doing that. I was like, man, if I was sitting across that table, I'd say, let's just get rid of her.
Right.
But they're all reacting very emotionally.
Everybody's saving her, saying, don't play the idol. Made me want to puke. I was like,
that.
Are you kidding me right now? Like, what the fuck is this? I was genuinely angry at that.
Especially if I was Dave, like he was the first one to jump on it. If I was him, I mean, obviously, you know, he's planning to go the whole way with Rhea, but I keep saying that one of them has to, like, to me, I think I tweet actually. I think Mick, you saw it, but to me, Dave and Rhea are up here, and then there's like a massive drop of the entire world before everybody else. So I don't understand how the two of you cannot try to flip on one another. And if I was Dave, I would have saw that as like, oh, you know what? If you want to play that idol, I just played mine. I'm without an idol. Like, go ahead and play that shit. Now I have an opening if I want to get you the fuck out of here.
Yeah, so, if I'm Dave, I'm starting to think of ways to start turning on Rhea. Absolutely.
You have to.
So 2 things on the Dave Rhea train. One, we started that first episode this week where Rhea almost didn't give his idol back.
That was crazy.
That was crazy. And if I was Dave, as soon as she hesitated, I'd be like, let's get rid of her. Like, if I have an ounce of doubt about you, I need to get rid of you. And he's like, oh, no, great. Thanks. We'll walk away with it. And in that moment where she wanted to play her idol, Simona, it was actually Big Cat who said it first. He says, don't.
Oh, was it?
Because Dave's looking at her. There's an edit where Dave's looking at Rhea, straight face, right? And she's going to play, and you can hear Dan say, don't. And all of a sudden, Dave's eyes get big, and he's like, yeah, don't play it. So I was like, it was an interesting moment, because I was like, is he really playing this game really well, or is he kind of like stumbling his way through this whole thing? But if I was Dave in that scenario, I'd be like, burn your idol. I know you're on my team, but burn it. It's not going to help me in the end. Unless he can somehow convince Rhea to get the idol. I don't know. He's already done it. Like I said, he's a cult leader.
He's playing his influence really well. And again, if you don't know like the stature at the company and everything, you'd be like, why are people bowing down to this guy? But it's slowly starting to realize like people are putting their contracts essentially on the line and how this game goes, or, you know, you want to show good faith. And it actually makes it might make it feel a little rigged. But for me, as somebody who's never really watched Survivor and not a huge fan of reality TV, this has been like the most entertaining season of TV I've ever watched as far as that goes. Like I've been more into this than I ever have, even if it does feel rigged. So having that dynamic of having the boss in it, having people in the company that still work together afterwards, they've burned bridges for the rest of their lives. They're saying awful things about each other now on the internet. It's like, all you guys make a ton of money right now. And you're just kind of like, why can't everybody just have a good time during this?
I will say, like, I don't know if Dave wins this game, but I would love to see Dave on the Real Survivor. I think he'd be a great Real Survivor contestant, because if he plays the same game, if he's super honest, like he'll get a lot of respect. He obviously doesn't compete well, but imagine, and they put celebrities on before. They've done celebrities. Like, I bet you if they asked Dave to do it, he would do it. I think that'd be a blast. Plus, Dave with no cell phone, Dave just eating rice and beans. And, oh man, that would be awesome. I'd watch every minute.
You're not able to do the food stuff. That's where you lose him. But
where's the pizza?
Exactly. You got to have no cell phone. That is crucial. Yes. I mean, that just can't happen. I understand they all do the content on the outside, but like, Kirk really wasn't doing any content when he was in Chicago filming this. Like, he kind of put his show on pause. Like, I wish everybody would just put the show on pause, put the cell phone in the box for 12 hours or whatever, and just have that chaos filmed. And then the best part is some of them probably, I guess probably some of them are tipped off on what they're going to see during each episode. I know Kirk's close with Jeff D. Lowe, so he might have a better idea, but it sounds like some of these people have no idea exactly what happened during the edits. And you see like Taylor Long, he took to Twitter and was like, Kirk, you said that you didn't stab me in the back, but all I saw is you stabbed me in the back. Like, what the fuck? Like, it's, I think it creates a great dynamic.
He chirped Stephen Che's tweet today. I thought that was very funny. He basically just called him a fucking idiot. Yeah. I mean, dude, no self-awareness. Like, read the room. Like, you putting that tweet out there to defend Big Cat is going to do the exact opposite. You just made the storm like open up even more, dude. Like,
I thought that was the bit. Like, I thought he was doing that on purpose.
Maybe. You never know with that guy.
I don't know if that was a bit or he was just like, yeah, like he was leaning into like his character a little bit. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Yep.
I can't.
I also noticed there's when you talk about like the normies, I guess the people who either aren't Minute fans or maybe even not even big Barstool people. There's definitely a different I don't know if it's tone or reaction to the way Kirk talked to Stephen Che versus the way he's been kind of handling Big Cat and Megan. Like, there's a lot more people on Kirk's side. Like, obviously there's a ton of people coming at Kirk, but I just feel like it's not as like crazy as the Stephen Che stuff like this time around.
Yeah, I think
we still have the finale.
Also felt
true.
It did kind of feel like if you were a neutral viewer, or I guess if you kind of know a little bit about Barstool, like Stephen Che is kind of a nobody. And if you're like, you see Kirk, it's kind of like a punching down, and Stephen Che at least offered no fight at all. Like Megan at least tried to fight back a little bit. She was like, don't say that, I'm not an idiot. And she made herself kind of look foolish even more, but at least she wasn't sitting there just like crying. She looked at Kirk almost with like a disgusted look, like, don't call me that. Like, I would rather see that than Stephen Che sit there in a booth crying, not know what to do. Like I enjoyed that a little bit more.
That was one of the all-time moments. Fucking last year, Kirk just eviscerating shit. They do that pan to like the whole jury, and every single person's just like laughing or just like, "Oh shit!" Great moment.
What's crazy is they've already alluded to it. Like Dave was like, "Oh, we're gonna get a speech when Kirk comes back."
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was such, I'm sure, like an off the cuff thing. Like Kirk has a lot to live up to if he wants to go rip a new asshole to these guys, because but like, what's he supposed to do this time around? It's got to be really good. Like, this is the encore,
Rico mentioned that too. He was like, Kirk's pissed. He's gonna write him a speech and eviscerate me. Rico's got to make a play against one of his two dads. I mean, that's the only way. If he does that, then everything it'd be redemption almost. It would all make sense. He was like, yo, like I gave Dave this. I was like, I'm showing that these are my two guys and I'm just the dog. And then all of a sudden, if he like uses that to flip the script, I don't know who it's going to be, but if somebody doesn't make a move, I'm going to be pissed. Like last season, there was people like, whether it was Will and Tommy, fights did some stuff. Like there were Jerry killing Dave. Like there were constantly big moves happening. And it just doesn't feel like that this season.
Yeah, that's where the kind of field orchestrated or rigged, and we're not accusing that of it. It just feels influenced, and having Dave in it towards the end and having Big Cat in it towards the end, it felt like their alliances weren't going to be broken, and that's where like someone like Jersey Jerry was great last year because he stabbed Dave right in the back, and I think people liked him even more during the game. Like I think that's what some people think, that if I stab Dave in the back, am I going to get a vote or people are going to hate me? It's like, no, people are going to love you if you stab Dave in the back. Like that's the best thing I think you can do in this game is get rid of Dave. Like everybody would vote for you if you're in the end. I got rid of Dave. I killed Dave. That'd be the best way to win. Come on.
Not to get off topic, but another guy who looks like a total bitch in the last like 48 hours.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But what would happen if Jersey Jerry was in the game right now and his contract was up in 2 months?
That's a good point.
Like, would he change how he played, or would he still kill Dave? That's what I want to know. Like, these are the questions that I have now that Dave and Big Cat openly admitted that contract negotiations affected how they played this game.
That was a mistake.
All right, so
Will said it too.
Right. So I have a poll question for you guys. You got 3 options.
Mm-hmm.
What's the most pathetic thing we saw this week? 1, Rico giving Dave the idol. 2, Dave and Dan saying the Bussing boys can't win because of their contract. Or 3, Dan quitting the way he did. Because we saw a lot of pathetic things this week.
They're all so bad.
There's a lot of bad stuff this week.
I would go 1 and 3 are tied. They're equally as pathetic. I will say maybe Rico's a little more pathetic because the entire company now hates him. Like, it's not in maybe even the world. If you're a neutral, if you ever had a boss, I would say you hate Rico right now for doing that. I mean, the way Big Cat kind of bowed out of the game, you could see in some sense, I don't feel bad for him, but you could see some people being like, all right, maybe this guy just kind of didn't want to screw over people. So there is some sympathy there. I don't have any again, but I could see how some people could. With Rico, it's like, no, you just gave a billionaire the fucking idol. Like, what are you doing? Like, nobody wants Dave to win. Come on.
It's like handing over your soul to the devil is exactly what it looked like.
I'll give Dave credit there too. As soon as he's like, I'm going to give it to Dave, Dave popped out of his chair, walked over to him because he did not even give Rico a half a second to rethink that. It was like, he was like, mine, thank you. And just walks away. You hate him, but you love the guy.
And you saw in the edit right before they went to that little tribal, Rico says, do you want it? And Dave's like, yeah, give it to me right now. Yep. And Rico's like, give me a minute. And it almost felt like maybe Rico was like, looking back on it, Rico had the chance to think about it and be like, no, I'm not going to give it to you. And he still sat there, stewed with it, and then went over and literally crowned him with it. It was sickening to watch. It really was.
That's why I'll give the in that poll question, I'll give the nod to number 3 just because Rico is almost, while it's equally pathetic, it's almost somewhat expected. It's not so surprising as it is to see like fucking Newt and Dan Katz just be a fucking puddle, man. That 10-minute soliloquy he went on today was just fucking embarrassing, dude. Like, and what are we doing?
Like, quitting is one thing. We've actually seen it on Survivor probably a bunch of times where people quit because they can't handle it. But that's also like you're on an island, you're for 3-4 weeks away from family, you're eating rice if you're lucky. But the way he quit was just the theatrics of it all just is disgusting. I think that's the most pathetic thing we saw all week.
Yeah, because it's one of the most pathetic things we've seen I've ever seen in my life.
Like from different angles, like the texting to Rhea, the giving everything charity case to Rico. Like between the two things, I couldn't believe my eyes.
Yeah,
that's the most insufferable thing is that it's so obvious to anybody, whether you're a Barstool fan or not. Like, you're just doing this with Rico to come off as a good guy.
Right.
Like, that's the only thing. Like, anybody can see that. And if you can't, you're blind.
Right. I'll give Rhea a lot of credit too. Like, I've been critical about her, and she is a snake and she's quick to backstab people. She showed that text message and buried Big Cat. She absolutely buried Big Cat. She's like, what, you're going to go home because somebody said you're from fucking Newton? Like, who are you? And you forget Rhea also has been buried by Big Cat. That's something that people kind of forget. Like, Rhea, probably in the only bad moment of her career was when Big Cat and Portnoy were like, you're a fucking skank. You just killed me. I don't know if they said that, but you get what I mean. Like, they kind of just buried her for, dating Marty Mush or however that all went. And she took the opportunity to just absolutely take the knife and stab it right in Dan's throat. It was unbelievable. I was like, yes, somebody said it. Yes, dude, Big Cat's being a pussy. Somebody has the balls to say this. Great.
It was nice to hear her like be kind of like aware too. Like, she's clearly a reality TV fan where she's like, I don't want to appear that I backstabbed you. Like, that's not the game that I'm trying to play right now.
Right.
Which that was not only just pathetic, but in a way, like, it's fucking being selfish as fuck too. Like, just being a total fucking scumbag. That's what that most recent episode, the episode from last night, was. This show's been so good, like so good, and that episode from last night was so fucking bad. Like, just such a black mark on it.
Yeah, it was a hate watch for me. It was a hate. It was definitely watching that. I was like, when are they going to get to who's voted off? Because I had the bad taste in my mouth the entire time from the ending on the last one.
I can't remember if this was, they're all starting to blend together though, but there was one funny moment. I think it was the most recent episode where Rico's kind of like commiserating. They show him talking to Big Cat, like, oh, I'm done talking to Dave. He's like, do you really think I have a chance? Like, do I have a chance here? And Dave's kind of talking to him saying, yeah, you might. Rico's like, really? And Dave goes, he's like, I don't know, I'm just making conversation.
He's like, I'm trying to make you feel better. Like, what do you want to say?
There was same guys. There was a moment where they were, I think it was the last episode where they were in the gambling cave, and Dave's just like waiting for Rico to say something to him, and then all of a sudden Dave just goes, "You like any of the games today?"
Got anything today?
Dude, how about how Rico was acting? Like he thought he was being so smooth. Like I'm not going to tell anyone I have the idol, but
know what he's doing. Like, does he know what he's doing?
And Dave smelled that out so fast.
Immediately,
just like,
Steve. Like, I think Dave knows Rico so fucking well. At this point.
He's just beaten down. Like that brain is just fried, and he just sits there with that blank stare. He's like, "You know something, right?" And Rico just has no ability to lie. He really doesn't.
So the vote after he gave the idol to Dave, Dave's just like, "You're with us now," and Rico's just like, "I didn't know what the fuck was going on. No one fucking time." Dave's like, "Yo, why? Yo, calm." I was fucking dying. That guy is on like he's an unhinged human being.
He's so defensive.
But it's so pure. That's why it's so comedic, is because it's like this guy is like,
"Don't call me dumb."
Yeah.
Hey, and then he's calling himself dumb as fuck the next episode.
Yeah, he's crazy. I wouldn't be surprised though. He might be. I'll give you the odds right now. I'll give you my favorites.
Oh yeah, let's go.
Remaining odds. Yeah.
The top spot, we have Rhea at plus 120. Yeah. Number 2, Rico Bosco plus 185. Close race there, 1 and 2. Number 3, a little bit more distance. This might be a favorite pick. It's tough to be mad at her. Megan making money, plus 300. Mubi plus 800. I don't think Mubi wins the game. And if she does, it might be the worst thing for her career because people will absolutely hate her. Like, you got handed this game. You're a fucking joke. You didn't do anything. I hope for her sake she doesn't win this game. Plus 800 for Moobs. Kelly plus 1,200. Again, no idea why. And Dave, you guys are going to be a little surprised by this. I think Dave can win. I do think Dave can win based off the way he's played. But I refuse to believe people will vote for their boss to win this game at the end. Dave might play the best game. He might deserve to win, but there's absolutely no way he's going to have the votes in the end. Somebody's going to think we can't give the billionaire the fucking money. We can't do this. I understand Kirk saying it on his show, like, nobody really cares about the money. At the end of the day, you're voting for somebody to get the money. Dave's not going to be the guy to get it. He can't. I refuse to believe that.
That was one of my questions on my notes. Is there a way in this world that if you guys were on the jury that you could convince yourself to vote for Dave Portnoy?
No, absolutely.
Like, is there a combination of him plus other two, or is there a combination of like things he does for the rest of the game that you would in any way vote for him?
I can't exactly put myself in the situation of having a boss that's a millionaire, but as a massive Survivor fan, wouldn't even think twice about it. I would absolutely vote for Dave without question. And I think Kirk said that. Bimala said that, but he said, I would rather win and get no money at all than get second and get $250,000. And I think that's what it is for the vast majority of I think the jury went really, really well. I think guys like I said, like even Clemmer, who's obviously not super wealthy, he's a big Survivor fan. I think he's going to be straight up. Francis, I don't think he has qualms with any of the people left. I can't imagine that he's going to get biased with any of his voting. I think if Dave keeps rolling the way he's going and he does take out Rhea, I don't know how Dave doesn't win unanimously. Not even just win. I think he's going to win unanimously.
See, the only person, and again, this might be my lack of Survivor knowledge, but how I view it and how I would vote if I was on that jury, Dave would be the only person I would not vote ahead of Dave is the person who screwed me over the most in the game. Like whoever really backstabbed me, lied to me, didn't vote for me when I thought they would, whatever it was, that person would be number 1, no. And then number 2 is Dave. Like, I don't know how people aren't seeing it. Like he's playing the game with knowing that people want him out of it and he's using it to his advantage. Nobody has the balls to get him out of it. And if he ends up winning at the end, I'm telling you, I'm going to punch a hole through my television. I'm not going to be able to handle it.
But as a voter, I would try to take, I as best I could, I would try to take the money factor out of it. Like I would try to vote based on scheme and.
But John, he's doing cuts saying, "Hey, I'm the richest person here, and I'm going to take this money, and I'm not going to give it to these fucking people, and they're going to let me get away with it." It's crazy. I'm like, no, they can't let him get away with it.
That's why he's prez.
That's right. I think if Dave keeps pulling moves where he's like getting people to give him idols, if he's able to convince people to use their idols when they shouldn't. If he keeps making moves like that, I would vote for him in the final. Now, here's a caveat, what they should have done is if Portnoy wins this, they should just go double or nothing next year.
Ooh, I like that.
They should go for 500,000. It's 250 right now, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So they should go for 500,000 next year. Portnoy's back in the game next year.
I love that.
New roster.
That's great.
And that would give people incentive because they could say, well, if we do vote for him, like we got a chance for more money, or let's just go try to win the 250 right now.
That
would have been
fun. The best idea I've ever had. That's fantastic, Steve. That's the best.
That should even be like the tag. It should literally be like surviving Barstool,
double or nothing.
Double or nothing.
Yeah.
That's good. That's really good.
And
you hear that, Jeff?
On in the first vote. Yeah, Jeff. We know Jeff's watching, right?
Let's see. Is there anything else that I really stood out to me from these? I don't think so. I think I covered all of my bullet points as far as the actual specifics of episode to episode.
I'll ask this last question for you guys then. Who do you have winning? Because we're not going to talk until after the finale. Right now we have 6 people left or 8 people, whatever it is. Who do you have?
Yeah, what was our final count for people left? I'm trying to remember. It's more than you listed 6 people, right, Mick?
We said 7, didn't we?
But there's one more, right? Who are we missing?
We got 6 people left.
Oh, is it all right? My bad.
We have left 6.
Rhea, Rico, Megan, Mooby, Kelly, Portnoy.
Okay.
All right. At this point, I'm still gonna say I'll go with Rhea.
John's taking the chalk.
I'll go Dave.
Yeah.
Wow. You really think Portnoy's gonna win?
I think so. I mean, I'll tell you what. I don't think Megan Making Money has literally any chance at all to win this game. I think I legitimately have a better shot than she does. I've talked more strategy on this podcast than she's talked in the fucking game. Yeah. So there's no, like I said, I think, well, everyone's laughed at moves. She's definitely not my first pick, but you said plus 900?
Yep. Plus 800. Yep.
I'll sprinkle it. A nice light sprinkle.
Yeah. There you go.
Because, like I said, if she can if she can even help out, if like Dave comes to her because they had like that alliance and they're like, hey, like we got to get Rhea before we go to the final 3, and like her and Dave fucking cooperate and they knock out Rhea. That's ammo for the jury, man.
You might see him. I don't think it's crazy he makes the top 3. He's still my odds-on favorite not to win. Like he's still the furthest. He's the biggest dog. But for Portnoy to be in the top 3, I think he might be right there with Rhea as far as the favorite. I just don't see Dave winning. I think he's going to get to the top 3. I don't see Dave winning. Steve, who you got?
So I'm trying to hash out my final 3 here. I feel like if Rico makes the final 3, he wins no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Which tells me that Dave is not going to let that happen. Rhea's not going to let that happen. I think what's going to happen is we're going to get Dave, Rhea, and Mooby in the final 3. And then I think Rhea wins.
That might be one of the purest runs in the history of reality television. If that's the final 3, that would be one of the most clean and not effortless, but just straightforward runs I've ever seen in reality. And I love reality television.
Well, they owned it from the get-go, and they never wavered.
Yeah.
What's funny is Kirk's team never lost a physical challenge, but maybe they should have lost a physical challenge so they could start questioning some of their team. But where Dave's team, they had their solid numbers, and they just rode that all the way. And now they like Rhea's got idols. Dave, I think he doesn't have an idol now. I don't know. It just looks too clear of a path for those 3 not to get there. Something tells me Keegs isn't going to make it. I don't know why.
I don't know why either. Yeah, Keegs wasn't in my final 3 either. But I had Rico winning. I had Rhea and Dave with him in the final 3.
Really? Oh my God! All right.
I'm listening. Who? Yeah. I don't know. I'll just say this. I don't think Dave has a chance at winning. So I essentially think you're voting against Rhea and Rico. And I think enough people in that house like Rico and think maybe almost feel bad for him, don't want Dave to win. You're not going to get the Dave votes. The girls might vote for Rhea. But I think all the guys or most of the guys in that house are going to vote for Rico over Portnoy. So I think as sad as it may be, he pulled the most pathetic move in the history of surviving history, whatever it is, survivor history. But I think he might end up winning.
I'm just trying to picture that jury. Like I could just see Whit voting for Rico. I don't know if Kirk could vote for Rico at this point.
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
Francis, all those guys are like, oh, he's working that hard and, vote for him. I think we're going to be disappointed who gets in that final 3.
Oh,
we keep waiting for a shakeup and I just don't see it happening.
That'd be crazy to me, especially if you're anybody outside of Dave and Rhea, you have to be like thinking like we can't go to the final with them.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's still 4 of us and there's 2 of them. Like we've been tight the whole game, but here we go. This is what we were trying to do. We were trying to get to the final 6. We're here. We're at the final 6. Like now it's time to start going against one another.
Mm-hmm.
I've got one monkey wrench that. So Kirk alluded to this, and I don't think it's going to happen. But Kirk said, maybe with you, Cinema, he said, I don't know, maybe somebody from the house goes back on the show, which has happened in Survivor Past, where somebody gets eliminated, but they don't actually leave. And then there's like these little mini competitions, and the winner of those mini competitions goes back on the island to compete. One guy actually won it all that way. It was
Redemption Island. Yeah.
How does this work now? Give me
So I think at the first Redemption Island of Survivor, they voted the first person off, and the guy was going to walk. His name's Chris, or he's a tall, athletic guy. Anyway, so they voted him off, and everyone's like, okay, he's gone. But instead, they took him to a different island where he had like nothing, and then the next person voted off went to the island, and they competed in a competition.
Oh, okay. So
loser goes home.
Nobody knew anything until afterwards.
Nobody knew that island existed.
Right.
And then with like 5 people left, the winner of that island, he went back on the island. Everyone's like, wow. Oh shit. That guy we haven't seen in 3 weeks is back.
I'll tell you what, if Jeff D'Lo has that up his sleeve, I'll quit.
Kirk alluded to it, which maybe, he's alluded to a lot of different things. I think it would be amazing if you get somebody back in there.
Oh.
If you could pick anybody out of that house to throw back in that game to try to win it, who do you pick? Do you pick Kirk?
I was going to say, we should almost eliminate Kirk.
Eliminate Kirk.
Eliminate Kirk.
Fascinating to think about.
I would take either Clemmer or Francis.
Roan, who's my pick.
Oh, that's a good pick.
I like Roan.
His ass off. Yeah.
Roan gone too soon. I liked Roan a lot.
I like the Roan pick. That's a good one.
But I also kind of want to put somebody back in there who still has some fire. So I'm like almost thinking Whitney.
Mm-hmm.
Like he still has a lot of fire. I wonder if you could throw him back in the house and then he would just play totally different. But you got to have somebody that could convince the other people to go with them. So
fire is good to have in this game, but like too much fire might kill you know what I mean? Like Kelly has a lot of fire, but it's almost too much. She's so emotional at these things. She can't even keep herself together. Like, true. I think you have to have Portnoy, believe it or not, is the perfect balance for these games because he's a sociopath. He has no problem lying to your face. And then afterwards he'll dance in your grave and he'll feel great about it. It's not even like he feels bad about it at night. He will sleep 8 hours and he'll wake up with a smile. It's crazy, but he is a perfect person for this game.
It's been a great show. I mean, It sucks that we lost Kirk, but I'm excited to see at least how these final 3 episodes shake down, and I'm very excited for that finale. I can't wait to see Kirk get back in there and just rip apart somebody. I don't know who it's going to be, but he's going to eviscerate somebody. Even if the final 3 are all like people that he respects, he's going to still like go out of the way to take shots at Dan and Megan. Like he'll find just the right way to go and fucking still annihilate those motherfuckers.
I hope so.
What's amazing is that Newton comment was so small and to the side, and it was this perfect little jab. And Big Cat even admitted on the yak today, he goes, that shook him up. Like that one little comment shook him up. And then I think Kirk smelt it. He's like a fucking blood and water.
Right.
He smelt it, he could taste it, and just kept going at him. And now we had a 10-minute apology from Big Cat today. That's because he's from Massachusetts.
It really was.
That's the saddest thing I've ever seen.
Like I was like, why is he doing this? I was like, if you were that successful and had that, like I would be like, yeah, fuck off. Like I would be but that really does show like it bothers him. And I don't even know if the Newton stuff definitely bothers him. I think part of it too is somebody like Big Cat has never really been told fuck you, especially when the red light's on. And he's never been looked at as a pussy. He's never been looked at as like the bad guy, or like Kirk is kind of the anti-hero in this situation. Like you don't really think he's doing like a good thing, but you don't want to root for the other guy. You're never going to root for the other guy's just being a pussy and pretending like he's backstabbing people and then being like, oh, I don't know how this happened. Like, no, Big Cat, you're in this game. You're a killer. And then all of a sudden you just bowed out. Like, fuck off. Like that's how I felt as a viewer.
It was very noticeable. Like he won that first challenge. He's throwing the bowl. He was right there in the memory challenge too. I think he was the third one. I think it was Rico. Well, Rico won, and I think it was Will and then Big Cat. So he was right in that one too. And just that one little jab, like you said, it just it hit hard.
Yeah.
Now, Cinema, do you feel any empathy towards Dan and Newton because you rep Fall River, but you live in Swansea?
All right, I live in Swansea now. I'm from Somerset. Let's just get that out of the way because this town that I live in now sucks.
I've been waiting all show to let that one out. So,
like you said though, just the craziest thing to a 10-minute apology because of where you grew up. Right? You're crazy. I think that is though, like why, like obviously we kind of were talking about Rico earlier and how he's just like unhinged and he's blinking like crazy. But I do think a part of that, like in his head, was just like the Minifans are going to fucking murder me.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Well,
he knows
earlier in the season. It was Whitney. Yeah, Whitney was like, "All I'm thinking is the Minifans." And
when he hit Kirk, right?
Yeah.
I think if they do another season and Whitney's back, he's gonna have like that, like the big cat attitude from last season, where like I got eliminated earlier because I didn't play as hard as I should have. I could see Whit coming back the next season and being like fucking balls to the walls all the way in.
Well, I think when we heard him on KMS, when he was like, I was genuinely stunned. Dave chose to do content with Mubi, no matter if it's a game or not. He was like, I thought Dave was gonna carry me towards the end because he wanted me for the content and this, that, and the other. Like you're saying, I think he would go into that game with much more of a cutthroat attitude, and being like, fuck this. Because he seemed, even on KMS, like he was genuinely mad at Dave. And this is the most tension I've seen under that unnamed show, since it's been started.
That's going to be wild tomorrow.
I can't wait.
You're in for a good day tomorrow.
I cannot wait. I'm very excited for tomorrow. I'm going to talk a lot of shit. I cannot wait.
I got two quick thoughts before we go, if you guys don't mind.
Yeah.
So one I mentioned earlier, like Dave potentially not playing, and it kind of seems crazy. My only thought there is potentially Dave in a future season, where imagine if Dave was like this omnipresent character that just showed up randomly and would just throw giant monkey wrenches in the challenges. Like, I think that'd be kind of fun. It'd be kind of unique.
Like, could he win the whole thing?
No,
his
only goal would be to go in and throw some crazy thing into a challenge, like
create chaos.
I would like that
just to create chaos. It might be kind of fun where like you still get Dave in it and seeing Dave and hearing him and the best of Dave, but he's not competing for money, and then nobody else changes the way they play. Like imagine if he like walked into like the body armor tossing one and told everybody they could only use one hand. They had to tie the other one behind their back. So all of a sudden it seems kind of easy, but then all of a sudden they got to do one hand. Like, I don't know, shit like that. Just an idea. My theory too, that I was thinking about, remember earlier in the season, we were talking about guys that we think should have been on the cast, but weren't on the cast. Yeah. And I think we all agreed like Brandon Walker would have been a great addition to this cast.
For sure.
Brandon's contract is up in like a month or two.
Oh boy. Don't tell me that.
So
don't do this to me.
All I'm saying is I've learned to love Brandon Walker. All I'm saying is just Brandon Walker, we can all easily say like Brandon would have been great in this game. But what if Dave looked at it and said, well, his contract's up. I got to worry about it with the Bussin' Boys, but they're big. They have the social media. They're that much bigger. We got to have them in the game. Caleb's the same way. Brandon would be great, but we just can't have another guy that I'm going to be worried about leaving the company, like winning the money and leaving the company.
Right.
So if that's the case, is there other people that could have played on this game that could have been good that Dave didn't want in the game? I don't know.
I'd like to see Tommy's contract. I'd like to see Tommy's contract these days. Maybe Tommy's sitting there making, pennies. Hey, can I go be the star surviving Barstool? You're going to want to raise after that.
Right. And, but also look like, who was I just thinking of? So Brandon is like a notorious Dave hater, right? So don't you think Brandon would target Dave from day one?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, definitely.
So that's where it's like, like the great bio dude, the great philosopher bio dude. It might not be rigged, but it feels rigged.
Yeah.
So once you start thinking about all these other elements, it's like, what else did Dave potentially manipulate going into this game?
Yeah. It's a business. You got to remember, it's a business first.
For sure.
You always got to protect the business.
I just can't believe they admitted it. Both Dave and Dan admitted it.
I was stunned when I saw that scene.
I know. That's all I got.
Out of you boys, John, Mick, you guys got anything else?
I'm good.
Great show,
I think I'm good. Yeah. We ran through pretty much all my notes. So.
All right, good stuff. So we will be back Thursday, live reaction after the finale, which will be fun. We'll still we'll kind of probably backtrack and Dapper in the first 2 episodes from the week too.
Sure.
Mentioned some of that shit.
Do we
good
know
show
on the finale. Do we know timing on that?
I mean, it's going to be at 8. I don't know how long the episode will be. I can't imagine it'll be more than like an hour and a half.
Yeah, it's probably. I would think 90 minutes, maybe 9:30 it ends.
Okay.
Yeah.
Time.
Yeah, they haven't said anything. I figured. I mean, you're going to want to dedicate quite a bit of time to jury talking and that sort of thing, but it's also going to be live, so I don't know if they even have a end time in mind.
That's a good call.
I would imagine they're going to cut back for the viewers to some of the scenes that had happened to reference stuff. Like, I don't think it's just going to be a all live one shot thing. I think it's going to be a lot of production involved.
Yeah. So we'll be talking, I'm sure, that day anyway. So we'll figure it out. We'll come, 10, 15 minutes after the show wraps. But yeah, that's going to be it for us. Fuck Dan Katz from Newton. Fuck Megan making sandwiches. Kirk will be back next season. And that's going to be it for us. Thanks, boys. Happy watching.
See you guys.